The sleek glass walls of Vertex Technologies reflected the morning sunlight as Travis Lee walked through the lobby for what he assumed would be the last time. His laptop bag hung from one shoulder, containing little more than his personal items, and a worn, lucky mechanical pencil he'd used since MIT. The $50 bill his father had handed him last night still burned in his pocket like a hot coal. "Morning, Mr. Lee," called Hector, the security guard with the ever-present Yankees cap, offering a friendly wave. Travis forced a smile and nodded, wondering if news of his departure had spread yet. Probably not. His father, Warren Lee, CEO and founder of Vertex, wasn't one to broadcast family matters to the staff. Appearances always mattered more than reality in the Lee household. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime. Travis stepped inside, jabbed the button for the 14th floor with more force than necessary, and leaned against the wall. His reflection stared back at him, dark circles under amber eyes that matched his mother's, disheveled black hair he hadn't bothered styling, the same charcoal blazer he'd worn to his sister Kira's birthday celebration last night, the celebration where his father had announced his retirement, the celebration where Kira had been named the new CEO, the celebration where Travis's breakthrough, software valued at $380 million, had barely warranted a mention between the champagne toasts and congratulatory speeches. The elevator stopped on the 8th floor, and 2 employees stepped in, immediately falling silent when they saw him. Melinda from marketing, with her perpetually perfect red lipstick, and Jeff from accounting, who had once drunk confessed his admiration for Travis's coding skills at the holiday party. "Congratulations on your sister's promotion," Melinda said with a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Thanks," Travis replied, the word tasting like metal on his tongue. Had they always seen him as just the boss's awkward son, not as the developer who'd been working 16-hour days for the past 3 years, surviving on energy drinks and takeout ramen to create the AI-driven analytics platform that was now the company's flagship product? The elevator continued its ascent, the silence growing heavier with each floor. When the doors opened on the 14th floor, Travis stepped out with relief, heading straight for his office. He needed to gather his remaining belongings before anyone realized he was leaving. For good, especially the framed photo of his late mother that had watched over his coding marathons. His office door was ajar, which was strange. Travis always locked it when he left, paranoid about his notes being disturbed. He pushed it open and froze. His father sat in Travis's chair, fingers steepled, eyes calm and calculating as ever. "I figured you'd come back for your things," Warren Lee said. Travis stood in the doorway, his hand still on the doorknob. "I'm just here to clear out my desk." Warren nodded, his salt and pepper hair meticulously styled as always, not a strand out of place. He wore the same custom-tailored navy suit from last night, the one from that London tailor he never shut up about. At 63, he still commanded attention without effort, something Travis had always envied but never managed to replicate. "Before you do anything rash, I think we should talk." Warren's voice had that familiar, patronizing tone that Travis had heard his entire life. Travis let out a bitter laugh. "Now you want to talk? After what happened last night? I know you're upset." Upset. Travis closed the door behind him, keeping his voice low despite the anger bubbling through his veins. "You humiliated me in front of our entire family. You handed the company, my company, to Kira, who hasn't set foot in this building in 2 years. She doesn't even know what Analytics does beyond something with AI. Vertex isn't your company, son. No, but Analytics is my software. I built it from nothing. I sacrificed everything for it." Travis moved to the bookshelf, pulling down a framed photo of the development team taken after their first successful demo. "This team followed me because they believed in my vision, not yours. Raj turned down Google for this." Warren's expression remained maddeningly calm. "And you'll be adequately Compensated for your contribution? Adequately compensated? Travis echoed, placing the photo frame into his bag with deliberate care. Is that what you call this? He pulled the crumpled $50 bill from his pocket and tossed it onto the desk. The bill unfurled slowly, revealing a coffee stain on one corner. Warren looked at the bill without touching it. That was regrettable. I'd had too much champagne. You've never had too much of anything in your life. Travis knew his father's legendary self-control. 2 drinks maximum, always stopping eating when 80% full, never raising his voice in public. His father's eyes flickered away for a moment, the closest thing to an admission of guilt Travis had ever witnessed from him. I said some things I shouldn't have, Warren conceded, straightening an already perfect cuff. But my decision about the company stands. Kira has the leadership qualities Vertex needs moving forward. Travis moved around the office, collecting personal items, a coffee mug from the TechCrunch hackathon where he'd met Olivia, a small potted succulent that had somehow survived his neglect, the signed baseball his grandfather had given him before Alzheimer's took his memories. Olivia. His stomach twisted. Would she stay at Vertex after he left? They'd been dating for almost a year, but she was also the company's most talented UX designer. He wouldn't ask her to leave her career for him. Leadership qualities, Travis repeated. Like what? A business degree she uses mainly to calculate tips at restaurants? Or is it just that she's always been your favorite since Mom died? Warren stood, his patience visibly wearing thin. This isn't about favorites, Travis. It's about what's best for the company. The company that I saved, Travis said, his voice rising despite his efforts to control it. Vertex was bleeding money before Annaly Techs. We were 6 months from bankruptcy. You were talking about selling to Microtech for pennies on the dollar. And I'm grateful for your contribution. My contribution. Travis slammed a desk drawer shut. I didn't contribute a casserole to the office potluck. I created an entire platform that revolutionized how every industry handles data analytics. I brought in $380 million in projected revenue for the next fiscal year alone. I missed Mom's funeral reception to fix a critical bug. Warren sighed, smoothing his tie in a gesture Travis had seen countless times during difficult board meetings. You created a product. Kira will provide the vision. My vision built that product. Your vision is limited to code, Warren said, his tone sharpening. Kira sees the bigger picture. She understands people, markets, strategic partnerships, things you've never had patience for. Travis felt as if he'd been slapped. All those meetings he'd sat through fighting his social anxiety. All the market research he'd conducted until his eyes burned. All the client dinners where he'd explained complex technology in terms executives could understand while battling his stutter. None of it had registered with his father. So that's it? Travis asked, zipping his bag closed. 30 years as your son, 4 years building this company's most valuable asset, and you still see me as nothing but a code monkey with poor social skills. A flicker of something, regret perhaps, crossed Warren's face before disappearing behind his usual mask of calm authority. That's not what I said. It's what you meant. Travis slung his bag over his shoulder. What happens to my team? They'll stay on, of course. The Analytics division remains crucial to Vertex's future. Under whose leadership? Warren hesitated for just a moment. We're bringing in someone from outside, fresh perspective, the final betrayal. Travis had been grooming Raj, his senior developer who'd become his closest friend, to take over day-to-day. Operations of the team, another promise broken. Of course you are, Travis said, the fight suddenly draining from him. He moved to the door, then paused with his hand on the handle. You know what's funny? I actually believed you when you said this company was about family. That's why I named the core algorithm after Mom. It is about family, Warren insisted. That's precisely why. No, Travis cut him off. It's about your ego. Always has been. Since the day Mom died, It's been about building your empire, not our family." As Travis opened the door to leave, he nearly collided with Olivia. Her hazel eyes widened in surprise, darting between Travis and his father. Her curly hair was pulled back in her usual messy bun, secured with a pencil in the way that always made him smile. "Travis, I was just coming to find you." She wore the vintage Star Wars t-shirt he'd found at a thrift store for her birthday last month, dressed up with a blazer for office appropriateness. "Olivia," Warren acknowledged with a nod. "Perfect timing. Could you give us a few more minutes?" "Actually," Travis said, "we're done here. I was just leaving." Olivia's brow furrowed. "Leaving? But we have the steering committee at 10. You promised to help me convince Stuart about the UX changes." Travis looked at his father, a challenge in his gaze. "I don't work here anymore." "What?" Olivia's voice rose in pitch. "Since when?" "Since last night," Travis replied, watching his father's expression harden. "Didn't you hear? Kira's the new CEO. Family decision." Olivia's confusion was evident. "I knew about Kira, but I thought you were staying on as CTO. You literally texted me about the meeting last night." "That was the plan," Warren interjected smoothly. "Travis is making a different choice." "A choice?" Travis let out a harsh laugh. "That's rich, Dad. As if you ever gave me one." Olivia placed a hand on Travis's arm, her silver bangles jingling softly. "Can we talk? Privately?" The touch grounded him, pulling him back from the edge of saying something truly unforgivable. He nodded. "This conversation isn't finished, Travis," Warren said as they turned to leave. "Yes, it is." Travis didn't look back. Olivia led him to her office down the hall, closing the door behind them. Her space was smaller than his, but more personalized. Plants thriving on every surface, colorful post-it notes covering one wall with user flow diagrams, framed vintage tech patents, and a small essential oil diffuser filling the air with the scent of eucalyptus and mint. "What happened?" she asked, leaning against her desk. "I know you were upset about Kira's announcement, but quitting, that's not like you. You don't even send food back when they get your order wrong." Travis set his bag down and ran a hand through his hair. "He gave me $50, Liv." "What?" "At the party. After announcing Kira as CEO, he pulled me aside, handed me $50 and told me, 'This is your worth.'" Olivia's expression shifted from confusion to horror. "He said that? Verbatim? Word for word, in front of Aunt Susan, who looked like she wanted to sink into the floor." "Jesus, Trav." She moved closer, taking his hands in hers. "That's awful. But still, quitting without a plan. You're the guy who makes spreadsheets to decide what movie to watch." "I have a plan," Travis said, though the words rang hollow, even to his own ears. Olivia raised an eyebrow, the one with the small scar from a childhood skateboarding accident. "Which is?" I don't know yet. Start something new. Take some time off." He squeezed her hands. "Maybe we could take that trip to Tokyo we've been talking about. Visit the robot restaurant you're always showing me videos of." The look she gave him was gentle, but knowing. "You've never taken more than a 3-day weekend in the 4 years I've known you. You get twitchy after 2 hours away from your laptop." "Maybe. It's time I started." Olivia released his hands and walked to the window, looking out at the Seattle skyline. Mount Rainier was just visible in the distance, its snow-capped peak gleaming in the morning sun. "What about Analytics?" she asked quietly. "What about the team, Raj, Priya, Daniel, all the people who followed your vision for years? What about the community health center integration we were planning?" The guilt hit him like a physical blow. He hadn't thought about the team in his anger, only his own wounded pride. The community health project had been Olivia's passion, a way to bring the technology to underserved populations. Dad says they're bringing in outside leadership. Olivia turned, her expression incredulous. "Not Raj?" "Not Raj," Travis confirmed. "That's insane. He knows the system better than anyone except you. He practically wrote the core algorithm with you." "It's just business," Travis said. parroting the phrase his father had used countless times. Olivia crossed her arms. "No, it's not. It's personal, and you know it." Her voice softened. "Travis, I love you, but walking away now hurts more than just your father." The words landed like a punch. Travis sank into the chair across from her desk, suddenly exhausted. The all-nighter he'd pulled 2 days ago to fix a bug in the system wasn't helping either. What am I supposed to do? Come back with my tail between my legs, accept being sidelined in the company I helped save, watch some corporate suit take credit for my work? "No," Olivia said firmly. "You fight. Not by quitting, but by proving your value." "My value is already proven. $380 million proven. That's the value of your software. What about your value as a leader, as the visionary behind the product?" She tapped her temple. "As the only person who understands the full potential of what you've built." Travis stared at her, a new thought taking shape. "What are you suggesting?" Olivia picked up a marker and moved to her whiteboard, the same way she did when brainstorming user interfaces. "The quarterly board meeting is next week. Your father controls the company, but he still answers to the board that he appointed. The board that cares about profitability and market position," Olivia corrected, writing "board" in bold letters with a flourish of her wrist. "And who understands analytics better than anyone?" "You think I should make my case to the board?" Travis asked, skepticism evident in his voice. Olivia capped her marker with a decisive click. "I think you should show them exactly what Analytics 2.0 could be, and why you're the only one who can lead it there." Analytics 2.0. A small smile played at the corner of her mouth, revealing the dimple he loved. "Don't tell me you haven't been sketching ideas in that locked notes app on your phone, the one you think I don't know about." Travis felt his face warm. Of course she'd noticed, the way he'd drift off during movies, typing furiously when inspiration struck. The expanded functionality, the new market applications, the integration points he hadn't had time to develop. While stabilizing the current version, even if I presented that, Dad controls enough votes to shut me down. "Maybe," Olivia conceded. "But forcing him to do it publicly in front of the board is different than a private family discussion. Warren Lee, business legend, doesn't want to look like he's making decisions based on family politics." Travis considered this. His father had built his reputation on being ruthlessly logical, on making decisions that served the company's interests, even when they were personally difficult. It was the cornerstone of his business philosophy, and the reason he'd missed most of Travis's school events growing up. "I'd need data," Travis said slowly. "Market projections, development timelines, resource allocations." Olivia's smile widened. "Good thing you know someone who excels at making complex data visually compelling and understands exactly how to appeal to executive decision-makers." The next 3 days passed in a blur of activity. Travis worked from Olivia's apartment, converting his rough sketches into detailed specifications, while she transformed his dense technical documentation into sleek, persuasive presentations. Her tabby cat, Pixel, became an unexpected companion, curling up on Travis's lap during late-night coding sessions. Raj and the core development team met them after hours at a rented co-working space downtown, away from curious eyes at Vertex. Their loyalty touched Travis deeply. They were risking their positions to help him, though he'd insisted they maintain plausible deniability. "The pattern-matching algorithm you've outlined could reduce processing time by 40%, Raj said on the third night, his eyes bright with excitement despite the late hour. The empty pizza boxes and coffee cups scattered across the table testified to their marathon work session. The leftover crusts, Raj never ate the crusts, formed a small pile near his laptop. "Only if we can optimize the memory allocation," Travis replied, rubbing his tired eyes. He hadn't slept more than 4 hours a night since quitting. "Priya's already working on that," Raj said, showing a series of Slack messages on his phone. She thinks she's found a workaround using that compression technique she was telling you about at the holiday party. You know, when you were pretending to listen, but were actually scribbling ideas for the voice interface. Olivia entered the room, carrying fresh coffees on a cardboard tray. She'd pinned her curls up with more pencils, a sure sign she'd been deep in design work. "How's it going?" "We're getting there," Travis said. "But something's still missing. This is all technical improvements, important ones, yes, but not the kind of vision that would sway the board." "What about the healthcare applications?" Olivia suggested, setting a caramel latte with an extra shot in front of him, his favorite that he pretended was too fancy to order himself. "You mentioned once that Analytics could revolutionize patient outcome predictions, especially for rare conditions." Travis's eyes widened. "That's it." He grabbed his laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. The team gathered around as he pulled up research he'd compiled months ago but had set aside as too ambitious for the first release. The healthcare market is projected to spend $47 billion on AI solutions in the next 5 years, he explained, pointing to a graph. But the current systems are siloed, incompatible with each other. Analytics could bridge those gaps, creating a unified platform that maintains privacy while allowing for cross-institutional learning. Olivia leaned over his shoulder, the scent of her coconut shampoo momentarily distracting him. "Is that what those hospital APIs in your phone notes were about? The ones you were working on during my cousin's wedding?" "Yes." Travis nodded, smiling sheepishly at the reminder of his social faux pas. "But it's more than that. Think about rural hospitals that can't afford specialized oncologists. What if they could leverage the combined expertise of cancer centers nationwide through our system? Patient outcomes could improve dramatically in underserved areas." Raj whistled low, the way he always did when impressed. "That's not just a software upgrade, that's a mission statement." "Exactly," Olivia said, squeezing Travis's shoulder. "And it's exactly what the board needs to hear." Travis saved the file, a new energy coursing through him. This wasn't just about proving his worth to his father anymore. This was about what Analytics could become, should become. "How soon can we have a prototype?" he asked Raj. "For the healthcare module? With Priya and Daniel helping, maybe 2 days." Raj looked uncertain, tugging at his ear, as he always did when calculating timelines. "But it would be bare bones, enough to demonstrate the concept, not for actual deployment." "That's all we need," Travis said, closing several unnecessary browser tabs, a nervous habit. "The board meeting is Wednesday morning." "Speaking of which," Olivia interjected, pulling her chair closer, "how exactly are you planning to get on? The agenda. Your father controls the meeting." Travis hadn't figured that part out yet. Warren would never willingly give him the floor, especially if he suspected what Travis was planning. "What about Diana Nguyen?" Raj suggested, straightening. "His glasses." Travis looked up. "The venture capitalist. She's on the board, right? And she was the biggest champion of Analytics during the initial investment round. Said it reminded her of early Salesforce. She also follows you on GitHub, which is pretty cool." Olivia nodded slowly. "That could work. If a board member requests time for a special presentation, Warren would have a hard time refusing without looking obstructionist," Travis finished. He checked his watch. Nearly midnight. "I'll email her now." As he drafted the message, carefully explaining his situation without disparaging his father, Travis felt a twinge of doubt. Was he taking this too far, creating a family rift that couldn't be repaired? Then he remembered the $50 bill, his father's dismissive words. The decision had already been made. He was just fighting for what he'd earned. Tuesday night, Travis stood in front of his bathroom mirror, adjusting his tie. The board meeting was in 12 hours. Diana Nguyen had responded to his email within an hour, expressing concern over his departure and requesting that he present his vision for Analytics 2.0 to the full board. As a major investor, she had enough clout that even Warren couldn't refuse. His phone buzzed on the counter, vibrating against his electric toothbrush. Kira. His third missed call from her today. With a sigh, he answered. Hey. Finally. His sister's voice came through, sharp with annoyance. I've been trying to reach you for days. Dad says you quit. That's right. Are you insane? After all the work you've put in? I had to hear about this from Dad while I was still jet-lagged from the London flight. Travis leaned against the sink. Interesting that you care now, considering you've been in London for the past 2 years. I was expanding our European presence. Not on vacation, Kira snapped. And that's not the point. The point is, you're throwing away your career because Dad hurt your feelings. He didn't hurt my feelings, Kira. He made it abundantly clear that my contributions to the company mean nothing to him. There was a pause. He told me about the $50. That was, not his finest moment. You think? Look, Kira's voice softened slightly. Dad's always been terrible at expressing himself, you know that. He still has Mom's jacket hanging in his closet, but can't talk about her without changing the subject. But quitting isn't the answer. I'm not quitting the industry, I'm quitting Vertex. To do what? Join a competitor? Start your own company? She sighed. Travis, I know we've never been close, but I'm trying to help you here. A bitter laugh escaped him. Help me? Or help Dad? Clean up his mess? Both, maybe. She paused. What if I created a new position? Chief Innovation Officer, full autonomy over R&D, reporting directly to me instead of Dad. The offer was better than he'd expected, but still a consolation prize. And Analytech's leadership? Stays with Lawrence Chen. Dad already signed the contract. Lawrence Chen, a former Microsoft executive who'd never written a line of code in his life, famous for taking selfies with tech luminaries at conferences. The thought of his team reporting to someone who couldn't distinguish between a compiler and an interpreter made Travis's blood boil. Not interested, he said flatly. Don't be stubborn. This is a good offer. It's a cage with nicer bars. I've got to go. Wait. Kira started, but Travis ended the call. He returned to the living room, where Olivia was reviewing their presentation slides on her tablet, her legs tucked under her on his couch. Kira, she asked without looking up. Offering me a consolation. Prize, Chief Innovation Officer, Olivia set her tablet down. That's actually not a bad title. It's a made-up position to keep me occupied while someone else takes credit for my work. Maybe, she conceded, but it also shows they're worried. Travis sat beside her on the couch, running a hand through his hair. They should be. Olivia curled her legs beneath her, studying his face. Are you sure you want to go through with this? It's not too late to call Diana and cancel. Having second thoughts? No, she said firmly. I believe in you and this vision. I'm just making sure you've thought through all the consequences. This will change your relationship with your family forever. Travis stared at the presentation. Displayed on the TV screen, months of work condensed into 30 persuasive slides, the culmination of his passion and expertise. Dad changed our relationship when he handed me that $50, he said quietly. This isn't about revenge, Sophie. It's about standing up for what I've built, for what Mom would have wanted me to do. She reached for his hand, intertwining their fingers. I know, I just want you to be prepared. Warren won't take this lying down. I'm counting on it, Travis said. The board needs to see exactly who he is when challenged. Olivia leaned her head against his shoulder. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm with you. If that means leaving Vertex, I'm ready. My portfolio could use some healthcare projects anyway. The Vertex Technologies boardroom occupied the entire northeast corner of the 20th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of Elliott Bay. The morning sun glinted off the water, the ferries cutting white paths across the blue surface. Travis stood in the hallway outside, his presentation loaded on both his laptop and a backup USB drive shaped like Baby Yoda that Olivia had insisted he use for luck. She'd left for her own office after a reassuring kiss and whispered, "Remember to breathe between sentences." The elevator chimed, and Diana Nguyen emerged. In her mid-50s, with silver-streaked black hair and the confident stride of someone who'd navigated male-dominated boardrooms for decades, she smiled warmly when she saw him. "Travis, good to see you, though I wish under better circumstances." They shook hands. "Thank you for arranging this, Diana. When a key innovator leaves abruptly, the board has a fiduciary responsibility to understand why." Her expression turned serious. "Your father is displeased with my intervention." "I imagine so. He says this is a family matter that's being blown out of proportion." Travis met her gaze steadily, fighting his instinct to look away during confrontation. "Is the future of the company's most valuable asset a family matter or a business one?" A slight smile curved her lips. "That's exactly what I said." She gestured toward the boardroom doors. "Shall we? And don't forget, Warren might be your father, but in there, he's just another CEO who needs to justify his decisions." Travis entered the boardroom behind Diana, instantly feeling the weight of 8 pairs of eyes. The board members sat around the massive oak table, coffee cups and notepads arranged before them. His father occupied the head of the table, Kira to his right. Warren's face remained impassive, but Travis caught the slight tightening around his eyes, the only outward sign of his anger. "Good morning, everyone," Diana said, taking her seat. "As requested, I've invited Travis Lee to present his vision for the next generation of Analytex." "Before we begin," Warren interrupted smoothly, "I should note that Travis is no longer employed by Vertex Technologies. While we appreciate his willingness to share his thoughts, I must remind the board that we've already approved the strategic direction for Analytex under its new leadership." "New leadership that hasn't even started yet," Diana pointed out. "Lawrence isn't scheduled to begin until next month." "All the more reason not to muddy the waters with competing visions," Warren replied. Travis remained standing, laptop in hand, his heart hammering so loudly he was sure everyone could hear it. "I'm not here to compete with Lawrence Chen. I'm here to show the board what they're losing by sidelining the original architect of Analytex." Kira shot him a warning look, but he ignored it. She was twisting her jade bracelet, a nervous habit she'd had since childhood. "I believe we should hear what Travis has to say," said James Tompkins, the former CTO of Amazon, who joined the board last year. 15 minutes of our time seems reasonable." Warren's jaw tightened, but he nodded curtly. 15 minutes. Travis connected his laptop to the display system, the Analytex 2.0 logo appearing on the large screen at the end of the room. He'd designed it himself. The original emblem evolved with subtle markers of advancement and a small tribute to his mother in the form of a lotus flower integrated into the design. "Thank you for your time," he began, clicking to the first slide, his voice steadier than he expected. "Analytex has exceeded all projections in its first 9 months, generating $380 million in new revenue and an estimated $1.2 billion in customer value through improved efficiency." He moved through the initial slides quickly, outlining the current state before transitioning to his vision. The breathing techniques Olivia had taught him were working. His typical stutter under pressure hadn't appeared yet. But what we've accomplished so far is just the foundation. Today, I want to show you where Analytex can go next. Not just incremental improvements, but transformative applications that could position Vertex as the leader in AI-driven analytics for the next decade. The healthcare module appeared on screen, showing the interconnected systems and patient outcome predictions. Travis highlighted the massive market opportunity, the technical challenges they'd already solved, and the timeline for implementation. As he spoke, he could see the board members leaning forward, their interest palpable. Even Kira looked impressed, though she tried to hide it by taking unnecessary notes. Warren alone remained stone-faced, his eyes occasionally flicking to his watch. The healthcare module is just one application, Travis continued, moving to his. Next slide. We've identified 5 key verticals where similar approaches could be implemented, creating an ecosystem of specialized analytics tools, all built on the core Analytics platform. He outlined each vertical: financial services, education, manufacturing, energy, and public sector, with specific use cases and market sizes. By year 3, these expansions could triple our current revenue projections, Travis concluded, displaying the financial forecast. But achieving this vision requires someone who understands both the technical foundation and the business opportunities. Someone who's been with Analytics from conception to execution. Warren cleared his throat. Thank you, Travis. That was certainly ambitious. Unfortunately, I haven't finished, Travis interrupted. The room fell silent. He'd never publicly challenged. His father before had always been the peacekeeper, the one who backed down. Warren's eyes narrowed. Your 15 minutes are up. Actually, Diana said, checking her watch, he has 3 minutes remaining. Travis nodded his thanks and continued. The decision to replace the entire leadership team of a successful product less than a year after launch is unprecedented in our industry. It signals instability to our customers and partners. The leadership of Vertex is not up for debate, Warren said, his voice hardening. I'm not debating who leads Vertex, Travis replied. I'm questioning who should lead Analytics, the platform named after Mum. Warren's face flickered with surprise at the mention of his late wife. The decision has been made, Warren stated flatly. Lawrence Chen brings decades of executive experience that will take Analytics to the next level. Lawrence Chen has never developed a product, Travis countered. He's managed teams that develop products. There's a crucial difference. Kira leaned forward. Travis, we've discussed creating a role that would keep you involved in Analytics' development while allowing for more experienced business leadership. A figurehead position, Travis clarified for the board, with no actual authority over the product I created. Warren stood, placing his palms on the table. This presentation is becoming exactly what I feared. A personal grievance masquerading as business strategy. Is it a personal grievance to want to continue leading a successful product? Travis asked, turning to address the full board. Or is it a personal decision to remove me despite that success? The room grew uncomfortably quiet. Several board members exchanged glances. Perhaps we should discuss this privately, suggested Teresa Valdez, the former CFO of Oracle. I have one final slide, Travis said, clicking to display a simple number, $380,000. That's the value I created for this company. Last week at my sister's birthday celebration, my father gave me this. He pulled out the $50 bill and placed it on the table. He said, and I quote, "This is your worth." A collective intake of breath filled the room. Warren's face flushed dark red. That was a private moment taken completely out of context, he said through clenched teeth. Was it? Travis held his father's gaze. Or was it the clearest expression of how you actually view my contributions? That's enough, Kira interjected, standing beside their father. This is inappropriate, Travis. No, what's inappropriate is dismissing the architect of your most valuable product because he's your son, rather than an impressive hire from Microsoft. Travis turned back to the board. I'm not asking to run Vertex. I'm asking to continue leading the product I built, the product I understand better than anyone else ever could. Diana Whitmore broke the tense silence. I think we need to take a short recess to discuss this development. Warren, Kira, Travis, if you could step outside, please." Warren looked as if he might object, but after a moment he nodded stiffly and headed for the door. Kira followed, not meeting Travis's eyes. As Travis gathered his laptop, Diana approached him. "That was quite a revelation," she said quietly. "It wasn't how I wanted this to go," Travis admitted, unplugging the Baby Yoda USB drive. "Sometimes the truth needs to be uncomfortable." She straightened her jacket. "Wait in the small conference room down the hall. We'll call you when we're ready." Travis paced the length of the small conference room, checking his phone every few minutes. Olivia had texted twice, asking for updates. He'd replied only, "Waiting for board decision. Drop the $50 bomb." The door opened and Kira entered alone, her expression unreadable. She'd never been good at poker. It was why Travis had always won their childhood card games. But today, her face was a perfect mask. "Dad's talking with James and Teresa," she said, closing the door behind her. "They're trying to find a compromise." Travis crossed his arms. "There's no compromise where I'm sidelined from my own creation." Kira sighed, leaning against the wall. "You really don't make things easy, do you? You never have. Even when we were kids, you'd die on the hill of being technically right. I'm not the one who made this difficult." "No?" She raised an eyebrow. "Airing family laundry in front of the board wasn't your idea of escalation?" Travis stopped pacing. "What Dad said to me wasn't family laundry. It was a business evaluation. An insulting, degrading one." Kira's expression softened slightly. "He was wrong to say that. We both know it." "Then why are you defending him?" "I'm not defending what he said. I'm trying to salvage this situation before it destroys both the company and our family." She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, revealing the small birthmark they both shared. "What little we have left of it since Mom died." Travis laughed bitterly. "Funny how the family part only matters when it affects the company. That's not fair, isn't it? When was the last time you called just to check in? When was the last family dinner that wasn't about Vertex?" Kira looked away, her usual confidence faltering. "We've all been busy. Too busy to be a family," Travis said quietly. "Maybe that's the real problem here." Before she could respond, the door opened again. Diana stood in the doorway, her expression serious. "The board would like to speak with both of you." Travis and Kira exchanged a glance before following her back to the boardroom. Warren sat at the head of the table, his posture rigid. The other board members watched as the siblings took their seats. James Tompkins cleared his throat. "After careful consideration, we've reached a decision regarding Analytech's leadership." Travis braced himself, his heart hammering in his chest. Under the table, his fingers worried at a loose thread on his pants pocket. "We believe the original vision presented by Travis demonstrates significant value potential that should not be disregarded," James continued. "At the same time, we recognize the broader strategic direction set by Warren and Kira." Teresa Valdez took over. "Our solution is to establish Analytech as a subsidiary of Vertex Technologies. Travis will serve as CEO of this subsidiary with full autonomy over product development and strategy. Kira, as CEO of Vertex, will oversee the integration points between Analytech and other Vertex products." Warren remained silent, his expression carved from stone. The vein in his temple, the one that always appeared when he was truly angry, throbbed visibly. "And Lawrence Chen?" Travis asked. "His contract will be honored," Teresa replied. "But in a different capacity within Kira's executive team." The reorganization took effect immediately. By the end of the week, Travis had moved his team to a dedicated floor, complete with new signage bearing the Analytech logo. Raj was promoted to CTO, and Olivia took on the role of Chief Experience Officer, overseeing both design and customer success. Warren had barely spoken to Travis since the board meeting, communicating through formal emails and intermediaries when necessary. The family rift that Olivia had warned about had materialized exactly as predicted. Yet as Travis stood in his new office, watching his team collaborate in the open workspace beyond his glass walls, he couldn't bring himself to regret his decision. They were energized, focused on bringing the healthcare module to life, no longer constrained by Vertex's bureaucracy. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Kira stood in the doorway, looking more casual than usual in jeans and a blazer. "Got a minute?" she asked. Travis nodded, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. She sat, glancing around at the half-unpacked boxes. "Still settling in?" "Getting there," he replied. "Did you need something?" Kira reached into her bag and pulled out a small, wrapped package. "Actually, I wanted to give you this." Travis took it cautiously. "What's the occasion?" "Call it a belated birthday present or an office-warming gift." Travis unwrapped the package to find a small wooden box. Inside, nestled in velvet, was their mother's jade pendant, the one she'd always worn, the one that had disappeared after her funeral. "How did you—" he began, carefully lifting the smooth green stone, its familiar weight in his palm bringing back a flood of memories. "Dad gave it to me last year," Kira admitted. "I think he always intended for you to have it eventually, but he's not great at letting go of control," Travis finished, running his thumb over the carved surface, a stylized lotus flower that matched the one he'd incorporated into the Analytex logo. "Something like that." Kira leaned forward. "Look, I know things are strained right now. Dad's pride is wounded, and frankly, so is mine." Travis raised an eyebrow. "Yours?" "Yes, mine." She met his gaze directly. "I spent 2 years building our European presence from nothing. I earned the CEO position, Travis, not because I'm the favorite, but because I proved myself." Travis turned the pendant over in his hands, considering her words. "I never said you didn't deserve recognition. I just didn't deserve to be dismissed." "No, you didn't," she agreed softly. "The $50 was cruel, inexcusable." They sat in silence for a moment, years of competition and misunderstanding hanging between them. 6 months later, Warren Lee stood at the back of the conference room, watching as Travis demonstrated the healthcare module to executives from 5 major hospital systems. The platform had exceeded even Travis's ambitious projections, with early adopters reporting a 28% improvement in diagnostic accuracy for rare conditions. Olivia caught Warren's eye from across the room and nodded toward the hallway. He followed her out, curious. "He doesn't know you're here," she said once they were alone. "I thought it best to observe without causing distraction," Warren replied, straightening his already immaculate tie. Olivia studied him, her gaze direct. "He's done extraordinary things, you know. Things Lawrence Chen could never have accomplished." "I'm aware." Warren's voice held no emotion, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of pride. "Are you ever going to tell him that?" Before Warren could answer, the conference room doors opened. Attendees filed out, chatting excitedly about implementation timelines. Travis emerged last, scrolling through emails on his phone, the jade pendant. Visible at his neck, he stopped short when he saw his father. "Dad," he said, surprise evident in his voice, "I didn't know you were coming." Warren straightened his tie, a nervous habit he'd never outgrown. "I wanted to see what all the buzz was about." "And?" Travis asked, his tone carefully neutral. Warren extended his hand. "You've built something remarkable, son. Your mother would have been proud." Travis hesitated only a moment before shaking it. "Worth more than $50. A ghost of a smile crossed Warren's face. "Considerably more. Not an apology, not yet, but a beginning."